Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. Today we've got a very special guest, and that is Jeff Berwick, who is returning. I think it was 7 or 8 years ago, Jeff. And back then we've actually had pretty similar paths, kind of getting into gold and silver early, then getting into Bitcoin and ETH early. And at the time we're probably a bit lost or not quite on that right spiritual path, and still, drinking and doing drugs and that type of thing. And then we've had very similar journeys. So today we're going to be getting into all that, the New World Order, who controls things, all the craziness, as well as our kind of spiritual journeys and everything unfolding now. But welcome back, mate. And how have you been?
Good, Alex. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been a wild journey the whole way. This is the most incredible 3D video game ever. I can't believe this finale that we're coming up to with these satanic pedophiles trying to kill everyone on Earth, and we have to find a way to survive it. It's pretty incredible.
It was kind of hard. Like, we were kind of both down that rabbit hole of knowing that the banks were corrupt and governments were corrupt. But even back then, it was pretty hard to get more information and find out who was really pulling the strings. And this is why it's one of my favorite times to be alive, because even the psyops getting debunked within 24, 48 hours by TikTokers and Instagram and podcasters. But all this information that's now out there about the bloodlines and these satanic pedo cults that you just mentioned. And I mean, how have you kind of seen that next level of awakening, and how awesome is it to see everyone else kind of going through it now?
Yeah, it's been wild. Back when we were talking, I didn't know anything about any of the stuff I talk about today, about who controls everything, what they are, why they're there, what's actually happening, how evil they are. um, and as you said, like back then, I was mostly focused on the governments and the central banks, is that because I identified that as being like the cause of most problems on Earth. But it's way, way deeper than that. And actually, I got so deep that I began to realize that the biggest problem for everyone on Earth is actually themselves, their own mind. And so then I went on a long journey, about 10 years of started with with ayahuasca, then Iboga, then hypnotherapy, which was really helpful, and then years and years of meditation, sometimes between 1 to 5 hours a day, every day for like years without missing one day. I did a boga again just a few months ago. I meditate in plasma baths, and I've kind of realized during the process that like everyone creates mostly their own problems, and you actually kind of create your own reality. Now there's all the stuff that's happening out there, but that's kind of like the show, in my opinion. That's like we're kind of in our own true man show, and you have to have like bad guys in the video game, right? Like I think like Christoph Melchizedek was telling me recently, you don't actually need bad guys in the video game, and this video game's been kind of co-opted, and that's the problem. So we'll see what it looks like without bad guys if we get to that point, which he says we'll get to in the next 7 years. Some people, if you survive it, most people won't because they haven't done the work. But yeah, it's been a wild, wild journey of discovery, and that's why I think this 3D video game that we're in, like none of this is real. This is actually like basically the mind of God is what it is, and there's only one thing, and that's consciousness. And we create this for ourselves, and I couldn't have created a better 3D video game. It's just been cliffhangers and uh, plot twists, unbelievable plot twists all along the way. And I think there's a lot more to come too. So this is the best. Like when I'm done, I'm giving it fully 5 stars.
I love how you call it a video game, and other people kind of talk about, the Matrix, or are we in a simulation, and all this type of thing. And as you start to live this life, you get more synchronicities. And when I reached out to you, I thought it's time to reach out to Jeff again. I'm sort of following your work and Max's work, and then I think you said that you'd asked AI who you should connect with, and it had said me. And then I looked at the date that you'd have been on 7 or 8 years ago, and it was the exact date we end up emailing each other. So it's just wild, isn't it, when these synchronicities all start to happen?
I literally have that happen countless times per day now. So I have gotten myself into, I think, enough of a grounded, centered, connected, having the oversoul descend more into my body, sort of a thing where everything's synchronistic now. So that exact thing happened for sure. It was about a few months ago, and I thought, I should do some more podcasts and stuff because I didn't actually do any for about 5 years as I was doing all this self work and stuff. And I went on Grok, and I just asked. Grok knows everything about me, about everybody. It's crazy. And I just said, "Hey Grok, it's me, Jeff Berwick," and it's like, "Yeah, hey Jeff," and I'm like, "I'm thinking about doing some more podcasts. What would you recommend?" And you were one of the top ones. And when I saw it, I was like, "I think I was on this show like 7 years ago or something." So I reached out to you, and you, as you said, like the exact date was, what was it, 7 years exactly to the day from our last interview, which does not surprise me at all because that's how my entire life is now. It's so incredible, and it's like so amazing when you get into this sort of space. Because basically the 3D video game are basically what all this stuff is. Well, once you get to the right spot, it starts giving you everything at the exact right time. Everything just flows, and like I just laugh almost every day about some massive synchronicity. Like that's a minor one in comparison to like so many that happen for me now.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of did my own thing as well for 5 years. And then as the algorithm changed and we're kind of allowed to talk about some more stuff on YouTube, again, I've started doing some more podcasts as well. So there's another parallel there. But I want to talk about the Matrix. And we kind of touched on how we probably weren't living our best lives. And I think a lot of people now, mental health crisis is everywhere. People are depressed and anxiety, and the media's got everyone in fear. But I think it's really important for people to understand that that's kind of like a product of the Matrix because humans aren't meant to live like this, working in small cubicles under artificial light at a job they don't really like. We've lost the connection. People can't even really afford to go to the pub or out on the weekend with their friends anymore. And I just kind of want people to understand that this is all by design. A lot of people that kind of feel unhappy, they haven't done that work, but it's also not their fault. This is like the Matrix trying to suck all that energy out of you and make you miserable. So I'm sure you got plenty of thoughts on all that.
Yeah, absolutely. That is in the Matrix itself. That is the main goal, is to destroy humans, actually everything. And that's what a lot of these people who are all in control of the world actually want. If you remember who was it, the old king with the Queen of England, his dream was to die and come back as a virus and kill all of humanity. Now that's the royals, right?
Yeah.
Who have the hunting parties with the humans and stuff. So they are very, very evil, sick people. And like you have this in this matrix, basically, and this is something that Christoph Melchizedek has talked a lot about. Basically, a consciousness field kind of took over this earth like tens of thousands of years ago, and it's not the true source consciousness field. It's actually a mimic and a mirror consciousness field. And this all sounded crazy to me until I went on a trip with him to Egypt and saw what he did and saw all kinds of miracles he could perform and stuff. And then I was like, holy cow, I think he knows how it works. And he's actually dismantling it right now. And he'll be speaking at Anarchapulco, by the way. That's pretty cool. But he was saying that's basically what's happened. And a lot of people, they're all entrapped under this mimic mirror consciousness. And this thing basically wants to destroy everything, including all the people. And so all these things it does, and that includes governments, that includes central banks, and this goes way back. This includes all the organized religions. These are all designed to keep people depressed, disconnected. They give them the television programming, they give them poison to eat and drink. There's like alcohol ads on all the everywhere because that's actual poison that actually brings in negative, basically demonic energy into you. So yeah, the whole system is actually set up to destroy you. Now, the great news is, and I was actually very depressed myself. Basically, about 10 years ago, I reached a point where I couldn't see any reason to live. This whole world just looked so gray to me, so horrible, and it kind of is in a way, right? But so I basically began doing the work. And by doing the work, which was like Iboga and meditation, hypnotherapy, all these sort of things, I began to actually raise my consciousness level to see what's actually going on here. But most people haven't done that. And so when you say it's not their fault, that's true and not true. The system set up in a way to entrap them for sure. And you're up against a million obstacles. Everything in this matrix is there to distract you, to deceive you, to keep you off of actually realizing who you truly are, which is the creator of the game. And but yet you can't just say it's not all their fault either, because people have basically not taken any initiative to actually find out the truth, and they're actually scared of finding out the truth. That old movie with "You Can't Handle the Truth" is so true.
Yeah.
That they kind of run away from the truth, and they run into all the distractions and all the pleasures and all the things that in this matrix. So it is partly their fault, because they haven't, because everyone at this point, with how the world is, it's turned into a total clown show. Like it's obvious now, like for you and me, this is obvious that they're doing all these things. Like it's so obvious. Forget about Bondi, that was like obvious. Forget about 9/11 and October 7th, that was a false flag attack. And the COVIDs, where they tried to kill everyone with a lethal injection. It's all completely obvious if you open your eyes,
Yeah.
if you're aware of it, and if you're not scared of the truth.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, instead of, so they should at least be aware that there's something wrong here. But instead of like trying to do the work and to figure it out inside, they actually go deeper into it, and they'll start drinking more and watching more television and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like both kind of a fault sort of apart, but it's kind of sad that this is the case. This really shouldn't be the case, that we live in this matrix that is trying to destroy you in every single way. But the great news is you don't have to be in that matrix. You can actually escape quite easily. It's not even that hard. Basically, if everyone would just go and sit in a room every day and watch their own mind, they'd probably escape the matrix within months or maybe a couple of years, something like that. If they went and did Iboga, they'd probably escape the matrix in about 3 days.
Yeah.
It's all out there for them to do, but your average person just doesn't know about it, or they believe all the lies in the matrix about all these things, that those things are evil and stuff like that. And it's an incredible situation. Such an incredible situation we find ourselves in here. But the great news is you don't have to be trapped in it. And so for anyone out there who's kind of like depressed right now and kind of like, not happy, that's all on you. That's your choice. You don't have to be that way. Maybe you didn't know the answers. Well, I'm telling you the answers right now. Go sit in a room and watch your mind every day. And what you'll realize is your mind is not you. And then after a while, you'll probably realize, if that's not you, then who's actually watching your mind? Then you'll start to get closer to the real truth.
Absolutely. You've touched on some great points there. I like when you said about, the alcohol and all these addictions in society these days, letting in that negative energy, and some people even talk about it as like, possession or letting the demons in. And all throughout history, people have spoken about, the good and bad voice on each shoulder, the devil, and which one you're going to feed, and all that type of stuff. But I think it's really important for people to understand that when we talk about these secret societies that are all, Satan, devil, Baal worshipping, all that type of stuff, Satanism is materialism, and it is encouraging debauchery. And look at everyone now in society. Everyone's either addicted to porn or gambling apps or social media. And I've got this theory about dopamine and serotonin being a bit of yin and yang, and everything in our society is like dopamine, more, now. And we have to get back to that serotonin, being in touch with nature and each other and having real connections and all that type of thing. So I think the pendulum is swinging back because people are just getting burnt out of all this dopamine matrix kind of life.
Yeah, absolutely. If you think about it, it's insane that like probably most men on earth, and even a lot of women, are watching porn every day. And that like just destroys you. Like there is some truth in the Bible. I call the Bible a script. They call it scripture because they like to hide it. But it's actually kind of a script for how things are going to probably play out. And it doesn't have to play out that way, but it is so far. And one of them is something about if you masturbate, you'll go blind or something like that. And actually, when I was younger, I was like, that can't be, right? And it's not like you actually go blind, like you can't see, but you actually destroy all of your ability to enjoy your physical ability to love another person physically, which is called sex. Through that. And the fact that so many people are just watching that every day. And I was trapped in that for so long. Still, in some ways, I still kind of am. I still have like Like I'm drawn to it every now and then, but less and less and less and less, especially now that I've realized just how damaging it is. And that's just one thing. You know, talk about the alcohol, that's another thing. Talk about the screens, that's a huge one. Man, so many people are just completely hypnotized by the scrying mirror now. And most of the stuff they're looking at is algorithms that are trying to destroy them. So, and then they turn on the television programming, and that's all propaganda and mind control and trying to destroy them as well, and you know, hypnotize them into buying alcohol and all these sort of things. And you know, for anyone out there who's listening right now, I know you have a lot of Australian audience. I know a lot of people in Australia drink a lot. I learned that numerous times visiting Australia. And I'd go for like a lunch business meeting, and they'd have 8 pints of beer. Um,
Yeah.
when I'm saying the stuff about alcohol, if you drink, I'm not saying it because I'm trying to make you feel bad. I'm not judging you. I'm not doing any of those things. What I'm telling you is, as a person who's drank probably more than most people on earth, I was like a heavy, heavy drinker most of my life. I've just now realized that that was actually one of the things keeping me from actually where I am now, which is basically outside of the matrix. So that really keeps you in the matrix. So you should at least just be aware of that. That if you are doing that, what you're doing is lowering your energy level, your basically your energy level, I guess you could say. And as you do that, it can be even very subtle. Like even if you have a few drinks, what happens? And this is where I actually stopped drinking, just so everyone knows. I was still drinking up until about 5 years ago, and but I was still meditating. So I'm meditating and drinking. You know, sometimes on the weekends, sometimes a little too much on the weekends, that sort of a thing, as a lot of people do. And what I found was I couldn't get into a good meditative state afterwards. And I'd been meditating for a few years, and I came to a realization that the meditation was way more important to me than whatever I was getting from the alcohol. So I just, it was a very easy sort of a decision at that point. It's like, well, I need this, the meditation, more than I needed what I was getting, what I thought I was getting from the alcohol. So it was a very sort of an easy sort of a thing for me, because basically I would just look at alcohol and go, well, I'm not touching that
Yeah.
because if I do, I can't meditate. And meditation is where I have basically the best part of my day every day. Not to say that meditation's all that easy either. It was years and years of hard meditation, like getting the crap kicked out of me, looking at myself, looking at my traumas and all that kind of stuff. But it actually reached a point after numerous years where it became like incredibly blissful. I'd be getting downloads. It was incredible. So once I got to that point, I was like, okay, no more alcohol. And then since then, I've kind of realized just more and more just what a nefarious thing it is. And it's no surprise at all that of all the drugs in the world, that alcohol is pushed on you more than any of them. And it's actually, in many ways, the most dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah, you've spoken about those downloads, and once you sort of get back connected and in line with everything, and one of those shortcuts is psychedelics. And I've had some great journeys with mushrooms and DMT, and you've been speaking about Iboga, which I haven't done, but certainly on my journeys, there's just, you know, you can't describe how they can kind of, I call it being like kicking your butt spiritually, and that ego death, and getting those life lessons and downloads that just stick with you from that point onwards, basically. And some people get that through meditation and breath work, whatever. So there's different paths, and I think it's all taking us to the same place. But what was Iboga like compared to ayahuasca and the stories you hear of other people talking about ayahuasca and mushrooms? Is it similar as like the entities and downloads, or is it more of a complete wipe? Or describe that Iboga journey for us.
Yeah, Iboga is completely different than all those things. All those other ones take you up out of your body and into like a different sort of realms and stuff like that, higher consciousness levels, and you can go see them and stuff, and that can be quite good, especially if you have like a fear of death and stuff, because what that shows you is that you're not your body, and your consciousness is so much more vast than you could ever imagine. You can actually see that when you do a lot of those. A boga is actually the opposite, and I think it's actually the most important. It actually makes you go deeper into yourself. So when you're doing the iboga, all of a sudden you're locked down, and you're basically doing a what you could call a psychotherapy type or deep meditation for what seems like sometimes decades. Like you're just locked down and you're there, and you have to look at the deepest parts of your subconscious, And for many people, most people, probably all people, the deepest part of the subconscious is really hard to look at because you got to look at the really hard things. And for me personally, on my last one, I had to really look at my childhood and I had to really look at what really happened because I didn't look at it because it was so traumatic. That's my whole life. People go, "How was your childhood?" And I used to say good, which is incredible because that's how your conscious mind blocks it off from you because it was so traumatic that you can't even like look at it. But because you can't look at it, you can't heal it. And then as I went further along in life and I was doing more meditation, people go, how was your childhood? And I'd go, it was actually pretty bad. But I'd kind of laugh it off. I'd go, I got beat up all the time by my dad, by everyone I knew as a little kid, but I'd laugh it off. But then I did the Iboga and it made me look at it and it made me re-experience it and feel it all completely to the point that I was actually like basically bawling like just for quite a while. And I was actually incredibly, incredibly sad for like, I'd say at least, well, total combined time, like 28 hours of complete sadness. That's what I had to feel. I actually had to go and feel it all because once you feel those traumas, you can release them. And that's what I did with the Iboga. So Iboga is, and it's different for everyone, by the way. You can have all kinds of experiences on it, but it's very inside of you. It's not outside of you. And actually, now that I've done it twice, I can say that I think everyone on Earth, this Earth would change overnight. If we should actually, I just thought of this, we should sneak Iboga into everyone's drink in the world. And for 2 days, they'd go through the deepest release of traumas, of seeing the truth, seeing reality. And when it's over, they'd be like just incredibly different people. They'd be so much better in every single way that you could ever imagine. And that would change the world dramatically. So I actually think if everyone in the world did Iboga, that's actually what the world needs. Because, it sounds a little funny, like that you need a plant medicine to do it. You shouldn't need it. And you don't necessarily need it. I guess if I would have just continued with my meditation probably for another few years, I would have eventually gotten to that point because I was definitely tracking in that direction with my meditation. But the Iboga makes you do it because it's so hard. Because what happens when you look at these traumas, and these traumas could be anything. They can even be past life traumas. And this is how deep it gets. But when you look at them, your first instinct is to run away from it. So I'd be in meditation for years and and there's numerous traumas I've had. So it's not just the childhood, it's all kinds of different ones. But every time I'd get close to looking at them, my instinct would be to like run away. So my mind, I just go in my mind, don't look at it, right? And like, just like freeze and, just don't look at it. Just don't look at it because it's so hard to do. But the Iboga makes you do it. So Iboga is like the kick in the butt that makes you have to do it. And it's hard, like super hard. It can be like incredibly hard.
Yeah.
But once you're done, you probably will have released those traumas. And once you release those, everything around you changes. So with my personal one, this actually and this is the thing about the Iboga. So I got deep into the sadness of looking at my childhood and all that. And then I started looking at my dad's childhood. And, because you got like what seems like decades in the Iboga to look at all these things, and you can't do anything else. And I looked at how bad that was, and I started feeling bad for him. And then I started to realize that's what his dad did, and that's what his dad did. Like my dad, he's missing his front teeth because his dad punched him out when he was like 14 years old. And that's every boy in the Berwick family forever. My dad actually called it the Berwick curse. But I actually went in and felt it all. And actually, in the Iboga, you can actually reimagine it all as well. You can do all kinds of incredible things with the Iboga when you get that deep. And I actually healed all those traumas. So the entire ancestral lineage, I healed. And that actually goes forward as well to my 3-year-old son, who actually, for his first 2.5 years, almost basically 3 years, he didn't really treat me like with this amazing love that he treats my wife with. He kind of was like more like, hi, Dad, but that was it. There was no big kisses or hugs, no big I love yous, nothing like that. And I was like, how have this son and he doesn't seem to like, just because he'll do that with his mom but not with me, and it's like, man, what's going on? Like, why is this happening to me? But I found out it's because 3-year-olds, especially young children, they see this energy. This energy is as plain as day to them. So he saw all of this past masculine energy in our familial lines. He saw it as an energy and he didn't really want to touch it. So after I did the Iboga, I went to him right afterwards, and as basically almost as soon as I saw him, he was a completely different person. He came up, he kissed me, he hugged me, because my energy had shifted, and that had actually shifted his energy. My other son as well, he's like 19. He's not even with us right now. He's working in Europe, and I heard right after I did Iboga that all of a sudden he's way happier. So I changed the entire family line through the work that I did, and that's with the Iboga, and that's what's so incredible about it. And I should mention too, it wasn't just the Iboga; it was the Iboga with Christoph Melchizedek and his team, who are basically magic workers. They're miraculous light workers, and so they, on top of the Iboga, they really help you get through it, and they know how to navigate it, and they really help that as well.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That relationship with your son and everything you've described there, mate. So that's yeah, that's beautiful. Well done on all that. And what you've described in there is kind of like the shadow work that Carl Jung and other people have spoken about, where you've got to face that darkness before you can fully appreciate and get to the light. And I hope someone's going to make that meme out there for you. Replace fluoride with Iboga for 2 days. Change the world.
Oh man, it really would. It'd be a weird 2 days. And it'd be a weird week after, as everyone would be just like lying in bed going, what just happened? But after everyone got out of bed, it'd just be a whole, like, no one would be listening to government. No one would be paying taxes anymore. No one would be, if anyone was doing anything bad, criminal, hurting other people, they'd just stop immediately. They'd see what they were doing in that Iboga experience. Maybe we should just put it in at like Davos or something, and at least get those guys to go through that experience and look at what they're actually doing. Although I think they're so deep under the demonic sort of stuff that I don't know if that would even help them. They're that far gone.
It'd be a rough ride at Bohemian Grove, I reckon, if we, yeah, served them all a Boga for a week. Oh, man. Oh,
But
where
the
do we
thing
go
is,
from?
we don't need to change those people. All we need to do is change ourselves. You create your own reality. So, like, yeah, we could go and try to change everyone, but we don't really have to. All we need to do is change ourselves, and then everything about our experience changes. So it's really all about you doing the work. And
Yeah,
I would also add and say that Iboga is by far, nothing comes close, the deepest shadow work you can do.
yeah.
There's nothing I've done almost everything like you. I've done almost everything, just trying them, just trying to find the answers, and nothing comes close to Iboga. That is the deepest shadow work you can do, and that's what most people really need.
Yeah. And when you're talking about all the energies and even some of that work Christoph Kizik's doing, a lot of this stuff's kind of getting the science behind it now. When you look at meditations and the brain scans and the auras, and science is catching up that all this energetic field and that we talk about, brainwaves, is very real. And I think that goes as well for like the ley lines of the planet. And some people are talking about, Tartaria and the bells and where they're different pyramids and energy grids of the planet. And what was the world like back in the day with everyone sort of healing and in harmony versus this overlay matrix now and poisoning our minds? And we spoke about this, the scrying mirror and the TVs and the propaganda and Operation Mockingbird and that sort of stuff. But it's also, I think, the actual light itself and the frequencies that I think the tech that they're poisoning people's minds with versus being out in the sun and natural circadian rhythms and that, even now, only a few people are really talking about those wavelengths of light and what it's doing to us as well.
Oh yeah, we're under attack in every single way you can imagine. That's why so many people are getting so bad. But we are under that attack. It's the radio frequencies, it's the Wi-Fi, it's the 5G, it's the chemtrails, it's the fluoride, it's the vaccines that they're injecting into the meat and stuff like that. It's the all kinds of stuff like that. But I'm fine with it. And I think a big part of it is once you do enough work, that a lot of that stuff doesn't affect you the same way. And then on top of that, I also, when you do talking about synchronicities, when you reach a certain point, all of a sudden you start receiving all kinds of magic gifts. And the biggest one I received in the last 2 years was I was at Anarchapulco 2 years ago, and a guy came up. He said, "I've got a Tesla machine." And I said, "What's that?" And he goes, "It's plasma." And I was like, "I've heard of plasma." And he goes, "Yeah, it basically cures everything, de-ages you, gives you like energy like you're 10 years old again." And I was like, "What, these light bulbs?" And he's like, "Yeah." And so I took it from him and I started using it with a few people, and it started curing whatever they had. My dog had a cataract or a totally white eye, totally healed it in 2 days. My maid had a bad back for like 10 years. In one session, she all of a sudden her back was totally fine. And I just went on and on doing that. And then I started using it on myself. And then 1 year to the day, basically, after I had gotten the Tesla machine, I was at Anarchapulco again, and someone had a quantum biofeedback machine, and she said, "Let's see what your all your levels are and stuff, and it can tell you your tissue age, your uh, metabolic age, I think it is, your energy in your cells." It's a pretty amazing machine, and it's very very good. Like most people will do it, and it will usually show them within about 5 or 10 years within their actual age. So they'll say that your tissue age is 5 years older than you actually are. And most people are older because they're under all these sort of attacks and stuff. And she put it on me, and like she couldn't believe it. Because I'm 55 years old, and she said, "Your tissue age and metabolic age is a 30-year-old, like half my age." And then her eyes bugged out of her head. She said, "I've never seen this before." I said, "What?" She goes, "The energy in your cells is the same as a 10-year-old." And I was like, "Yeah, that's what I was telling you. Like, I don't ever get tired anymore because I've been using the Tesla machine for that entire year. And now I've been using it for about 2 years. So I actually got this big power up, and that was actually very synchronistic. And actually, I think I manifested it because I was actually meditating, and I was just learning about manifestation, which you can do. It's totally real. If you get to a certain point, you can start to manifest whatever you want. And a lot of people do it on the negative side. That's what all the satanic stuff and all that magic stuff is, and they'll try to do evil stuff for their own benefit and stuff like that. So I didn't want to do anything like that. I have no interest in anything like that. But I thought, well, let's try to manifest something that seems impossible. So this was over 2 years ago. And I really focused on it. I said, okay, I'm going to manifest that somehow I start de-aging. Like, I just don't know how that's possible. I've never heard of anyone who's really de-aged. But let's, if I'm going to try to manifest, let's do something really big, right? So I just really focused on that and really did the stuff you do for manifestation to bring that about. And then it was like a month or two later that I found out about the Tesla machine. It came to Anarchapulco, and then I started de-aging with it. So in my opinion, I manifested that. And in fact, we manifest everything. Like everything in your life is created by you. And that's the thing that people don't know. So even all the negative stuff, that's actually there because you have not fixed yourself. And so this basically matrix system will really start giving it to you until you wake up. In my opinion, I think that's how it works. And but yeah, if you start doing a lot of this work, you're meditating every day, like an hour or two a day. You really get to higher consciousness levels. You can learn how to manifest, and all of a sudden, you get all these synchronicities and all these power ups come to you, and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, but your average person doesn't know about any of this stuff, right? And like I'm like one of the only people who I've been talking about plasma for 2 years. Hardly anyone talks about it or knows about it. It's incredible. It's the biggest rediscovery of our lifetimes by far. It
Yeah.
de-ages you. It cures everything. Cancer. It cures paralysis. There was a little dog named Gizmo that couldn't walk for a year. They were going to put him down. They put the Tesla machine on him for a couple of days. Now he's running around. Another person couldn't have their legs amputated. They couldn't walk, obviously, and they did the Tesla machine for a week or two, and they didn't amputate their legs. And a few weeks later, they're walking miles a day. I've seen this hundreds of times now. So this is real. This exists,
Yeah. I've heard.
and I've been talking about it, and no one seems to care. It's like people are just, and I think that a lot of that's their programming, right? Because what's their programming? Well, if it's not on the television programming, it can't be real. If the doctors say it's not real, it's not real. If the media doesn't talk about it, it's not real. No, whatever they talk about, that's the bad stuff. This is actually the real thing, but because of people's programming, they're incapable of seeing, except for some people. So there's been about 1,000 people now who've joined the Tesla club and gotten a Tesla machine, and almost every one of them, when I talk to them, I can tell they've done a lot of the work. So they've done the work so that they can see things clearly, and then they can recognize when they see it. something that's miraculous, and then they can become involved in it. But your average person just can't see it. It's like they're completely blind.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard you and Max talk about it a lot, and I'd love to sort of see it firsthand and do a video on it with someone here in Australia, or I might get one, and then yeah, if I see it all firsthand, then I'll be pushing it as well for sure. But I want to change gears a little bit and let's talk about where everything is heading with New World Order and Agenda 2030 and Israel. You touched on this before, the sort of scriptures and fulfilling prophecy, and it seems like they're just determined to kick off this war with Iran and build that temple. And I think they want to run all this tech and AI and all that out of Israel. And even now they're talking about building their own weapons. They've kind of joked about milking the American calf dry. I think a lot of places have been extracted of all their wealth, like Australia. So it's almost like this kind of digital enslavement system has been built out now and it's kind of nearing its final stages. But what do you kind of see the next few years looking like?
Oh man. Um, Well, I definitely, a lot of their stuff's collapsing. All these governments are bankrupt. All these, and they're going to go down. Their currencies are going to go down. We're actually seeing that right now with gold and silver. This is hyperinflation. When you see a chart like that, that's Weimar hyperinflation. And so all these systems are actually going to be going down. I think they're going to give it a last sort of a shot, and that's what's going to happen over the next year or two. But Christoph Melchizedek says that they've actually retaken and gotten rid of all of their sort of black magic stuff. So they're actually losing power. So I don't know if he's right or not, but if he's right, he says in the next 2 years, we'll see things that you won't believe, and all these things will be collapsing. And the price, he says it's going to be a EMP type of a thing, a coronal flare. That's probably going to happen late 2028. That will be like 1,000 times bigger than that so-called Carrington event, if that's even real, because I don't try to say anything they say about history.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be what they say it is. They're going to, they'll say it's a solar flare. It's actually going to be plasma coming back onto the Earth from source. But according to him, you only have a couple years left to actually do the work, to be aligned with source and not be caught in the mimic and the mirror. Because if you're caught in the mimic in the mirror, and this is what Max Egan talks about as well, they're going to put you into a mainframe. They've already got everyone databased. They know your blood, they know your eyes, they know everything. They know your DNA. That's what that what was it, 23andMe
yeah,
run
yeah.
by a Jew was. Yeah, send in your blood, and they're getting all your DNA and stuff, and they're actually reprogramming it so that you actually go into the mainframe. And as long as you don't do the work, because once you do the work, you're basically immune to this stuff. But if you don't do the work, you're going to end up in a mainframe. Christos Melchizedek says you'll be in there for 50,000 years or something. So that seems like a long time. But that was also in the script, the Bible, where it said there will be a time during this apocalypse where people will want to die, but they cannot die. And that'll be the people who have not done the work and they have not reconnected with source. And they'll go into the mainframe and be stuck there for a very long time. And how it's all going to play out, like who knows? Like there's so many variables in this, but I would say everything that you consider like real today that is part of your life, the governments, the central banks, the currencies, the fiat currencies, the Apple, Google, AI, all these sort of things, they're all actually going to collapse in the next probably 2 years. So that's the great news. So you got to survive those next 2 years, and you got to make sure that you're aligned with source, so you don't get put into the mainframe. I know it sounds crazy, but I actually think that's what's happening.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. And again, if you've done that work and you're not attached to that all that materialistic stuff that we just spoke about, you kind of sit back and go, "This is the greatest thing ever." Like we're going to actually have a chance of building a new society. Whereas people that are oh no, they're more worried that they can't post on Instagram anymore or all this fake material stuff. They're going to be going through and going to have to, that's like their dark night of the soul where they're going to have to do that shadow work and that type of thing, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people are going to just keep trapped in it, keep watching their Hollywood movies, keep watching their television programming, keep on their Instagram. And then they'll say, well, if you want to, keep your Instagram, you got to be in the smart city concentration camp. And then once they're in there, they'll start giving them the injections and then probably feeding them to the other people who are still alive. Every like horrible dystopian futuristic movie, Terminator, Soylent Green, 1984, Brave New World to some extent, The Matrix, Hunger Games. They're all happening right now. Actually, Trump just launched the Hunger Games. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Just like last week, he launched the Patriot Games, where a man and a woman from each state will compete for like food stamps or something. And that's, it's amazing just to watch all this stuff happening.
He also mentioned that he was going to reopen asylums or mental asylums or something, didn't he? Which made me think about, geez, if Tartaria and all that reset stuff is true and they were getting all the dissidents herded into there for re-education, is that what they're prepping for again?
Yeah, Max Egan talks a lot about that. I don't have a hard idea on exactly what happened during the last reset, or if there was a last reset or anything like that. But there's a lot of evidence that all there was like mental institutions and orphanages for a while, and like big beautiful buildings that you can't explain how anyone built them. So that the theory is, by some people that there was some sort of a great reset event. And you have Klaus Schwab coming out now saying it's the great reset, and Donald Trump's like, we're going to open up the mental institutions. I think if that occurred, it was probably people like us that they try to get into the mental institutions, right? Because we could see what they're doing, and they'd be like, "Okay, you're going in there," and then they'll just give us our injections and dumb us down, or kill us slowly or quickly or whatever. And then they start up the new sort of human race with a bunch of probably like cloned humans, and all of a sudden there's all these orphanages all over the place, and they just start teaching them all the same stuff, right? Like all these books, and they say, "Yeah, this is what history was," just like with us and stuff like that. So I don't know how that's is going to play out, but I'm very very optimistic about the general future if you do the work.
Yeah.
If you do the work, I think you're going to be loving a lot of this stuff, because if you do the work, you're not going to care about any of these materialistic stuff anymore. Because if you do the work, you realize this isn't even real. Like, what am I doing? I'm in like a 3D video game, and I'm playing a 3D video game. It's like, are you stupid? It's like, yes. What do I care about? Oh, I got to get these little scraps of paper with a pyramid with an all-seeing eye on it, and then I got to go get my death contract, which is mortgage, which is French death contract.
Yeah.
See it, a lot of the people, and some of them are going to stay in that, and I think their lives are going to get just worse and worse. It already is. Most of them are already super depressed. They're all on pharmaceuticals already, and it's going to get worse and worse for them the longer that they keep trying to basically not wake up to reality.
Yeah.
But for those who wake up to reality, everything's quite beautiful. Like, my life's incredibly beautiful. I can't believe how beautiful my life is. And I just talk to amazing people like you. I live on a ranch. I got dogs and animals, and yeah, they're trying to do all kinds of stuff but we are aware of most of those things, and we either don't we take care of those things, like we don't have like too much Wi-Fi or any of that stuff, and we try to keep the 5G away from here and stuff like that. But even if it is, I think once you get to a certain point, you aren't affected as much by those things. I think it mostly affects people who are still trapped in the matrix, basically. So yeah, like, how's it going to be for everyone? I don't know. Like, there's like supposedly 7 billion people on Earth. I think that's a lie too. I think it's closer to 3 to 4 from what I've calculated and other people have calculated. But even still, that's a lot of people. If it is 3 or 4 billion, how's all their lives going to go? I don't know. Every single one's going to have to go through their own experience. This is their own true man show.
Yeah.
Are they going to make the right decisions? Are they going to go on the hero's journey and actually awaken to what is real and true? Or are they going to get trapped in the matrix? And I think most people, a lot, like, 50% or more, are definitely going to get trapped in the matrix. And it's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Christoph says we're going to actually go to a bifurcation, and we're actually going to go on 2 separate timelines. So at some point, all the people who went to the mainframe, they'll just be gone, and it'll just be people like us left, and we'll just be trading with Monero and Pirate Chain and gold and silver, and we'll all have Tesla machines for our health, and everything will be great. That sort of a thing. But we'll see. Like, I don't know for sure that's going to happen. I don't know any of this for sure. These are all just what I think might be actually the case.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to try and find like-minded people and build out your community. And I'm really lucky where I am in Australia that we've got people that are growing their own food, and some that are completely off-grid and even out of reception and that type of thing. And you got to start doing that work now. But I even think just the mere fact that some people are speaking up and just not living in fear is one of the reasons that all this info is coming out. And, they're trying to buy up TikTok. And we've seen the algorithm suppression on X for accounts like us and all that stuff that's been coming out. So there's too many holes now. They can't just stop and put that genie back in the bottle with all this information coming out, which is great. But I want to change gears and talk about crypto, which you just touched on with privacy and that. So obviously, crypto has just changed so much since you and I got into it, and it was the cypherpunk. We're going to replace the
The
government and
crypto
take down the
anarchists.
banks and the financial system. And next thing you know, the last couple of years, this cycle, it's just about BlackRock and the new ETF, and now Trump and all the government are pro crypto, and we had that big flash crash that wiped out a lot of people, and it's just retail. The cost of living, it's nothing what it used to be. So I'm still hopeful that there are some developers out there and cypherpunks that want to see Bitcoin and Ethereum decentralize and do well, and they care about privacy still. But as you say, it's kind of like Monero and Pirate Chain or other privacy coins and privacy features, and just anything that's going to push back against the government system that I'm kind of hanging out for and more bullish on now. So how have you seen it from sitting back, and how much it's changed from the early days to where we are now?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Like I thought Bitcoin was gonna be the thing that we needed, right? And it's gonna change the world. It's gonna get rid of the central banks. And but they co-opted, they're so good. They've got so much money and they're so smart. They use AI that's been around for like a billion years. They're part of this consciousness field that's like hyper intelligent, like the most intelligent thing except for Source. And they are so able to co-opt and take out things. And then on top of that, people are so easy to manipulate. So with Bitcoin going higher and higher in price, all of a sudden, most people, like when it was like the early days, it was like people like Roger Ver, who's been in jail numerous times now, John McAfee, who they killed. These are all Anarchapulco speakers, by the way. So many people like that, myself, and we're all anarchists, and we are all basically looking at Bitcoin not as a way to make money, although that's a nice side effect, but as a way to take down the system that is so evil. And then over the years, all of a sudden, they got rid of us all. Like my YouTube channel got deleted, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago. I had hundreds of thousands of subscribers. I was talking about Bitcoin since $3. And all of a sudden, all the new Bitcoin influencers were on there getting like millions of views. And they're just like, number go up and no principles, no nothing. Oh, MasterCard's going to make a Bitcoin MasterCard. Who cares? Like that's the system that we're trying to take down. But now they co-opted it all. They co-opted it in 2017. That's what Roger Ver's book was all about, hijacking Bitcoin. It was the World Economic Forum type people, the Bilderberg type people, all these people that control everything. They really did a good job of co-opting it. Now Bitcoin is basically like I don't even care about Bitcoin. Like it means nothing to me. Like like I used to be so like enamored with Bitcoin, and like from 2011 when I found out about it around $3 to about 2020 probably, or at least 2017. I just thought it was going to actually turn the world back into paradise and stuff like that. And it clearly isn't. And now it's just too far gone. It's completely gone. Plus, it's not even private. And in this world where they've got Palantir tracking everyone and all these sort of things, you absolutely, you're insane to be using a currency or a cryptocurrency that isn't crypto. That's part of the name. It's incredible that people have forgotten that it's supposed to be hidden, it's supposed to be secure. And that's the opposite of what Bitcoin is, obviously. Now there is things like Monero and Pirate Chain, which are great. And I'm very happy to see Monero rising up dramatically, even while most cryptos aren't. That is also a sign, in my opinion, of the impending collapse of everything. That we see gold at all-time highs, silver at all-time highs, Monero just a few days ago at all-time highs, is because the whole system's collapsing. And actually, the good things are actually going to be rising now. We're actually headed for really good times if you're people like us. We've actually we've had hurricane force winds against us the entire time. They were trying to kill. They killed a bunch of us, John McAfee and so many people. They put so many of us in cages, like Roger Ver and the Silk Road, Russ Ulbricht, and so many like that.
Just
And
on privacy as well, it's important that we touch on Zcash, because that kind of kind of got artificially pumped as the privacy coin when it's headquartered down the road from the CIA, and it's not a coincidence it's the only privacy coin that's like widely listed and got a grayscale trust. So I just want people to know that that is not actually that private, and you've spoken a lot about this as well. But I think a lot of the devs quit recently, so I'm not sure if something's going on there or whatever, but yeah.
This is all part of what I'm saying. We're actually everything's been against us until just a couple of years ago, and then everything started shifting with what Christoph Melchizedek has been a part of getting rid of all of their magic spells that have kept all this matrix into place. That's all mostly gone now. And so for years we couldn't get anywhere. We're just banned, shadow banned. They'd freeze our bank accounts, they'd kill us, they put us in cages, and there wasn't a lot we could do. Now we actually have the wind behind us. And so you're seeing all the good things, God's money, gold, silver going up. Monero, the best cryptocurrency, Zcash plummeting, and the dev team actually quitting. That is all signs of what I'm talking about. Because Zcash is a honeypot, total scam, total BS, fake privacy coin. And seeing it go up there for a bit, I was kind of sad, especially when it passed Monero. But to see it collapse massively, and Monero has actually been going up, and Monero is not listed on hardly any exchanges anywhere. Like it's got everything against it, and it's kicking Zcash's ass right now. And it's like, yes, it's so nice to win. Like we haven't never won. Like we've slowly made little wins. People are waking up. A lot of the stuff that we're talking about here, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we would have seen completely insane. I'm sure a lot of people say I sound insane right now because they haven't woken up enough to where I'm at this moment. But like 10 years, 20 years ago, you talked about to people about the Federal Reserve and they didn't even know what it was. And then, Ron Paul revolution, then Bitcoin. And now almost everyone knows the Fed's not good. It's a communist sort of central bank, sort of a system. The fiat currencies are BS. The banks are like all insolvent. They all lend out money they don't have. They do fractional reserve banking. Most people actually know that now. That's a huge change over 15 years ago. So we have been making these small gains all along the way. But now we've got like actual wind at our sails. And so we've got some good times ahead, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's crazy how much has changed, isn't it? All these different topics that used to get labeled a crackpot or whatever, and it's almost like a badge of honor now if the media cancels you or someone mainstream calls you that these days. The tables have kind of flipped, haven't they? But I know you
I
haven't got
wouldn't
too.
really trust most people if they haven't been shadow banned. Like if they have a channel or something and they're speaking out about something important, if they haven't been shadow banned, if they're getting pumped in the algorithms, I wouldn't trust them because that's how the whole system's been set up. I actually would trust the people who've been banned everywhere. They're being slandered in the media. It's like, okay, those are the good people. Everything's inverted.
Yeah, yeah. I know you haven't got too much time left, Jeff. So let's maybe talk about who you think is really pulling the strings at the top. Because, as you said, a lot of people used to be like, the bankers and the politicians are bad. And then you learn about the Rothschilds. And then you get back into history of these secret societies and all this like human sacrifice and this crazy cult rituals they do. And, we've had survivors of these trafficking networks on the show, and they've been talking about these ceremonies and how they've seen people's faces change. And, David Icke's been talking about, what was it like reptilians? And it's just so crazy. But once you start to understand maybe different frequencies and dimensions and vibrations, and anything's possible really. So where do you kind of sit on like who's at the very tippy top controlling all this crazy evil?
Well, nothing actually exists except for consciousness. And that is one thing. So we are all one having an experience in what I call a 3D video game, or you can call it the Matrix or whatever you want to call it. So at the end of the day, there is no one at the tippy top except for consciousness itself, and that is us, and that is what we are. All this other stuff is kind of made up for our own Truman show and our own Matrix experience in the 3D video game and all that kind of stuff. But inside the Matrix, inside this experience, who's at the top? I've gone from, I used to think it was just governments and central banks. I feel so naive now. Like, obviously, they've created those things. But then, you get into, okay, then the Masons, then the Jesuits. And then I actually didn't even catch on to the Jews until 2 years ago. So, like, I'm kind of like not very smart. Because it was blatantly obvious, and I just couldn't see it until October 7th when I was like, well, that's all lies. It wasn't guys in paragliders who blew up like 1,000 cars at a music concert that just got moved there the day before, right by the Gaza border. And then all of a sudden, some guys in paragliders blew up all these cars and raped all these people and put babies in ovens. And none of it was real. It was very clearly, obviously, all lies. So I started looking into that. And I was like, holy cow. So it's kind of like the Jews, but they're not even really Jews. A lot of these people are from Khazaria, which you start to look into. And those are the Rothschild type people. So they created their own terrorist state called Israel, which is the most evil state on earth. And, you know, all states are kind of evil to some extent. But yeah, so I've gone down every rabbit hole. And actually, the latest one is talking to Christoph Melchizedek. He says what it is this mimic mirror consciousness field that took over this earth, like, I don't know how long ago, like maybe even millions of years ago. And I think that's what it is. And that actually kind of like entraps or gets certain people get attracted to it. Generally, the more evil you are, the more like you want to hurt other people and stuff like that, the more you get into it. So I think at the highest level, it's actually just this consciousness field. I think Christoph Melchizedek's onto something with this. And then underneath all that, you have all of the ways that it makes the consciousness field makes that into our physical reality through people. And that's, you know, the royals, the masons, not all Jews, but many, but not all Jews. And they're not even Jews. It doesn't even exist. It's a totally made up concept. But a lot of those people are actually from Khazaria, which is pretty much like a Molochian worshipping death cult, which is what we see in Israel today. That's why they have the Star of Moloch is the flag, the six-pointed line star, 666 star. That's the Star of Renfan, actually, which is kind of similar to Moloch. I just say Moloch. So yeah, it's all those sort of groups, the Jesuits, all kinds of groups like that. And then you go even just a step below and you get like the Council on Foreign Relations and the Bilderberg Group and all this. It's sort of like this big pyramid all the way down. But I think at the very top is this consciousness field. And I think there's only two ways you can kind of escape from the consciousness field. And that is to do the work and connect with source and basically heal yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually and connect 100% with source. And then none of that stuff affects you. And the second way is what Christoph's doing. He's actually destroying it all on other dimensions at the moment, which is incredible. And I've actually kind of seen it with my own eyes. So that will be getting rid of a lot of it too. But if you don't get connected definitely in the next 7 years, but I would say definitely in the next 3 years, because that's when it's actually the bifurcation of things going to happen, according to him, in 2029. So if you're not completely clear, you have not disconnected and been able to raise your consciousness level up above, outside of the matrix, you'll probably go into the mainframe at that point. So yeah, that's what I think it is. I could be totally wrong. This is all just an experience. It actually doesn't really matter because none of it's real. Because what we are is consciousness. We are the only thing that's ever existed, ever will exist, ever has existed. We can do anything. It can create entire worlds, entire scenarios. We could create like 1 billion different characters and it can play each one individually and write the script in real time. That's what we are. And when you know that, you don't worry about anything because you just look at it all with wonder and with beauty. Even as, you know, even though there's all kinds of horrible things going on, which I don't like at all. But still, I just look at the whole thing like, wow, I can't believe that basically we created all this and it's for our own experience and to learn and to go through and to have the hero's journey. Like, if you're going to create basically a 3D video game, is it going to be easy? You're going to be able to finish it in like 5 minutes? No one would ever play it. Is there going to be no bad guys? No one would play it. It's like, why would you play this game? How about you create something where you're born, your mind is wiped, you have no idea what you are, everything around you is lies, history is a lie, everything told to you is a lie by the system, by the television programming, by the history books. They tell you that they went to the moon, that's a lie. They tell you that there's these terrorists, and that's a lie. It's actually the CIA and Mossad. And you actually are born and you actually have to figure out how to use this body. That's pretty crazy. And you don't go to school or anything and no one tells you. You have to just figure it out. Then you have to figure out what's everyone coming out of their mouths. Like they're making all these noises. You have to figure out that's a language. You have to learn how to use that language with no one helping you to do that. You just figure it out. And then you have to learn like what's going on in this world, and you get trapped in all kinds of different things. You might get trapped in like, partying and drinking for a while, and then you realize that's a trap, and then what a video game, right? So I don't worry about any of it. It's all amazing. I can't believe it. It's the best.
Well, that's probably a really good spot to wrap up there, mate. And I'll put the links to follow all your socials and that down below, even though you're shadow banned. And we'll catch up again in future. It feels like the world's kind of accelerating, so I don't even think there was probably going to be like YouTube and stuff if we waited another 7 years. But we'll catch up again in future. But any
I
final
think it'll
thoughts
all
for
be
people?
wiped out in the next 2 years, probably. Yeah. So, but there's going to be new technologies coming online that are Christic technologies. It's far better. We can actually, like this YouTube, we're talking over like a camera with the internet and stuff. We can do that with our own minds. We just forgot how to do all that stuff. So we're going to relearn how to do all of that. So we'll talk just mentally sometime in the future. I should just mention though that we have an incredible event coming up called Anarchapulco. February 16th to 20th in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And a lot of the people that we've been talking about are all going to be speaking there. Christoph Melchizedek, Max Egan, David Icke. Definitely check it out. It's an incredible event. This year is going to be mind-blowingly good. I basically guarantee it. We also do ayahuasca at the event. We do Iboga at the event. We do DMT. I think combo, which is like frog poison as well, that helps purge out a lot of your physical traumas, that get your actual emotional traumas that get stuck in your body. All that stuff at Anarchapulco coming up in less than 3 weeks.
Awesome. The link to that will be down below. And I think if you can't attend, there's also online tickets and stuff, Jeff.
Yeah, there's virtual as well. So if you can't make it, I highly recommend it. These are the best, most amazing people on earth for an entire week. It's our TED Talks or our Davos, but with like good people telling you the good information on how to save yourself, how to like save your money. Like we even have a Dollar Vigilante Summit there, how to make money, how to get your health good. There's going to be Tesla people speaking at the event. There's going to be a Tesla machines at the event. Incredible stuff and all kinds of plant medicines as well. But if you can't make it, you can watch it all virtually, and I definitely recommend it. Just go to Narcapulco and look at tickets and look for the virtual. And the great thing about that is it's 5 full days of incredible speakers, but you don't have to watch them all every single day. You can just like watch one a day and stuff like that. Just take your time with it from the comfort of your own home. But almost all the speakers will give you some sort of information that will probably change your life. That's really the case. And that's why you've probably never heard of an Anarchapulco. That's probably why, all of us who are at Anarchapulco, they either killed or put in cages or were shadow banned or all of that, because that's actually the real information to escape the matrix. And that's what they don't want you to know.
Awesome, mate. Well, that's been a great interview. We'll have to catch up again in future, and take care. All the best with everything. Cheers.
Thank you, Alex.